What's up? What's up? What's up?
Hey guys.
We're back with another episode of All Things Marriage. And this week we're going to be discussing what?
Fighting fair. Yeah. You know, we fight all the time. I just be like, boom, boom, boom.
Right. So fighting fair in your relationship, fighting fair in your partnership, not stealing off on each other.
Right.
Both physically or verbally, right?
Right. It's the month of love. So we want to hound in on doing things that make us fall in love with each other more and more.
Or that perpetuate the love, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, let's jump right in.
Okay.
Fighting fair in our relationships.
Yes. We're human. Things happen. We have different personalities. We have different likes and dislikes, and we think differently. We process things differently. And so fighting or arguing is inevitable. You're gonna have disagreements. You're gonna have some arguments. But we want to make sure that we're fighting fair. We're fighting in a positive way. We can fight positively in order to get to a solution that works for everybody. That makes everything good. It may not be the same as it was before, depending on the argument, but it works, for your situation or for your relationship.
Right. So, as she said, any relationship, any partnership, inevitably is going to have these disagreements, right? And so for me, and thinking about it and kind of meditating on the concept of fighting fair, it's, in my mind, it's really about understanding the other person's trigger points, right? Understanding your trigger points, but understanding the other person's trigger points, and not trying to push those triggers constantly,
right?
And I'll use myself for an example. If I have a pre-existing trauma, right? And let's just say my pre-existing trauma is, I've been left alone. You know what I mean? I come from a family where, I was abandoned as a child, and this and then the third. If we're in relationship, if we're in partnership, and we come into a disagreement, your immediate response to disagreement or to argument, to fighting, whatever, shouldn't be, well, I'll just leave. If you know that. If you know that that's a point
that's
of
not
trauma.
Fighting fair.
You know what I'm saying? That's hitting below the belt. You know what I'm saying? Or not even I'll leave her. That's why your mom and them left you when you was a kid. That's
or isolating you.
Right.
We're not even communicating.
Right.
Shut up in a room. I'm blocked away. And not having that conversation and making you feel as though the love is still there.
Exactly. That's kind of it for me. It's knowing those trigger points and trying to steer clear of the triggers. And not only just steering clear of the triggers, but actually looking to and working towards resolving the issue and not perpetuating the issue. Not just, oh, I'm angry, so I'm gonna make you angry.
And I'm gonna make you feel what I feel. Not even I'm gonna make you understand how I feel, but I'm gonna make you feel like I feel. Since I'm pissed off, you're gonna be pissed off.
If I'm mad, everybody gotta be mad.
And that's not fighting fair. That's really actually one, childish,
real
and two, selfish. It means my feelings are the only feelings that matter. Whether it's in the relationship as a whole or in this argument when we're talking about whatever we're discussing, my feelings are the only feelings that matter, and that is definitely never the case. I think when we're fighting fair, we have to focus on a goal. What do we want to do after this argument is over?
Right.
Because the argument will it's gonna come to an end at some point.
At some point, right.
Do we want to be in a good place at the end of the argument, or are we gonna say and do things that are gonna harbor resentment and animosity from our partner towards us? Because if we're constantly hitting below the belt, if we're constantly hitting those triggers on purpose, or not on purpose, like, you know, you just haven't taken the time to actually, okay, well, my husband doesn't like to be left alone, and really process these things.
Yeah.
So when arguments do come out, you just blaring off, regardless, because you haven't taken that time to think about things. You know, how are we ending it? You know, do I want to be able to hold my husband's hands later, or get those flowers because we settled an argument in a good way, in a good manner?
Right. Yeah, and on that same note, it's kind of having the understanding of, or the mindset of actually wanting to resolve. You know, because just like we shouldn't look to push each other's buttons. Mm-hmm. Like, we also shouldn't be looking at or finding ways to get our buttons pushed.
Right.
Because that's kind of the flip side of that art of that
attention seeking behavior.
Yeah. Where it's just like if I know that respect is a big thing for me, mm-hmm. and I know she acknowledges that, then everything I say or everything she says, I shouldn't come back at her with now you're being disrespectful. Yeah. Because I know she's going to back down a little bit, or she's going to backtrack if she feels like she's disrespecting me. Mm-hmm. That's unfair too. Yeah. Because now you're restricting your partner, you're closing them off, and you're limiting their ability to express and their ability to release those emotions and those issues that they have in a safe space. It's really honestly about creating a safe space for discussion and communication between each other. Yeah. So
yeah. Because we have to be able to communicate. Right. That's the actual foundation of it. Exactly. If we can communicate in a healthy way, when we're talking positively, when everything is going good, we should be able to transfer that when we're upset and angry. Right. For Bible plug, be angry but sin not.
Don't let the sun go down upon your wrath.
Right, but be angry. You can be angry that your partner did something.
Yeah, get mad.
You can be upset, you can be hurt. But when I express things to my partner, I need to make sure that I am not sinning, right, for the lack of a better word, right, or rather hurting his feelings or hurting her feelings, or causing another argument or another issue in our relationship. The issue is this. Right. I'm bringing this to you because we need to work on this. We need to fix this. I don't like this. I don't like it when da-da-da-da. And come to a resolve. And then once we figure out the resolution for that, we can go in peace. Right. And not have to, okay, now you said X, Y, and Z. What is that about? Right. And we just constantly going from one problem to another.
On a similar note, on a similar token, let's stop this pattern of bringing up other issues while we're mad. Like, not only just bringing up other issues while we're mad, but only discussing issues while we're mad. Right. Like, that's mad
key.
Toxic.
That's key. Stop waiting until things blow up and then now I got an issue your about socks on the floor.
Right. Yeah. Like. but right. like because I feel like as adults, as married couples, we have a tendency to, as a whole, like humanity as a whole, has a tendency to wait until there is conflict.
Till you boiling over.
Right, to address conflict instead of identifying, hey, this particular behavior, this pattern is upsetting to me. Right, it's frustrating. I don't like the way the way this goes. But no, like we want to be. I'm trying to be patient and and then I get mad about something.
Right.
I get mad about the sink still running. You left the sink running, and then now all of a sudden I can't stand the fact that you caused a car accident last week. Like, wait a minute. We could have discussed this car accident when it happened.
Yeah.
But you want to bring up car accident when the sink is overflowing. That doesn't correlate.
Yeah.
You know.
It's partially because not only do we not know how to communicate, we don't know how to deal with conflict.
Right. We don't know how to be confrontational in a non-toxic way.
Right. Without having conflict.
Right.
Being confrontational without having conflict.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just like you left the sink off, because we've had this discussion of you gotta, turn the sink off all the way, because if you leave it up a little bit, it'll constantly be dripping. Now in the country, when we was younger, you might have to leave the sink running, especially during the winter, so the pipes won't freak.
Exactly.
So so maybe that was the thing. Maybe that's the mindset, and you just not realizing, okay, you're in a new place, you have heat, and etc.
Right.
But you have to have those conversations while, if you see it and you know it's a problem or it's a potential problem, you don't even have to honestly be like, that's a problem for me.
Right.
Or I don't understand why.
Right.
But you can say, I noticed that you did this. Why do you do it that way?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I can't remember I think you said that to me one time. Like, I see that you do it like this. Why do you do it like that?
Right.
And it's just like, I don't know.
Right. And it's with that, it's about, that's kind of a coming to the issue or approaching whatever the issue may be. From a perspective of, let me gain understanding.
Right.
I want to understand,
Yeah.
as opposed to you're wrong and it
You
needs to
are
be fixed.
stupid.
Right.
I don't know why you doing that.
Right.
Yeah. Because again, we're partners. That means we're equal.
Yeah. So if I'm stupid, you stupid.
And we're one.
Like,
what is it? The partnership or company or something is as strong as its weakest link.
Yeah. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Right. So I was off. It was a chain. But yeah. So in a relationship, in a partnership, if I know that he's weak in an area and he knows that I'm weak in an area, what we're supposed to do is to acknowledge that, okay, we're lacking in such and such, and we need to work together in order to strengthen
and build.
Right. Or either I compensate for his weakness and he compensates for mine.
Right.
So that we can become the strongest possible version of ourselves. And the only way to do that is to address certain issues in a positive manner, because like we said last week, I can't even remember the thought that I was pointing to. Excuse me, Saints. But we have to understand that. Yep, I lost it.
It's okay. That's fine.
We're gonna cut that out.
Right. Maybe.
No.
But no. So let's shift gears a little bit, because we've discussed, how we're dealing with each other with our fighting fairness, right? I'm upset. Mm-hmm. I'm mad that I don't know. We'll keep the example of the faucet, right?
Right.
I'm upset that you leave the faucet on and it's dripping a little bit. We just got into an argument about something else, and I bring up the drippy faucet, and now that's a whole nother big issue, right? Right. And so now we're not even addressing the issue that was at hand. We're back and forth about a dripping faucet, and we're not resolving the current problem,
right?
Because we're talking about something else that had nothing to do with it, right?
Right.
And so now I get upset. And I know that your trigger is you don't like to be left alone. You want to discuss. You don't want to feel isolated. So I'm just like, well, fine, don't worry about it. I'm just not gonna talk about it. And I've isolated you, right?
Right.
So now what happens? Typically what happens is, you get on the phone, or I'll get on the phone, or I'll go off to work or whatever, and I'm sitting in the office, and I'll use myself. I'm sitting in the office, and I'm just like, man, and I'll say Jacob because I don't think I know any Jacobs. If it's somebody out there,
I know a Jacob, but
whatever. But then now I go to work, and this man Jacob, she getting on my nerves today, bro. Like we at the house and da 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 da, and then she gonna come at me with this and then the third. So I told her about herself. I told her why she coming at me? She always leave the faucet on, so ain't no need of fussing at me. Now I've introduced Jacob into the situation, right? And so now,
and Jacob don't necessarily like me,
right? And maybe Jacob is impartial, right? But then what happens is, I got mad, and so I came to Jacob and telling Jacob how terrible of a wife she is. And then when we get back to being okay because we done got over it, or we just moved past it, whatever the case may be, and we having our little Memorial Day cookout, Jacob come to the cookout, and Jacob see a faucet running. Now Jacob like, brother, don't make no sense. He told me she was terrible. And then Jacob come up to me, man, look, I wouldn't put up with that. Now Jacob got gripe against her because I've introduced him into our marital situation. You know what I'm saying? I've brought him into our marriage.
Right.
Maybe I was just trying to vent, whatever, but I've brought Jacob in, and now Jacob is holding on to that thing.
Right.
And Jacob has aught against, or has gripe against my wife.
Right.
And so now every little thing, Jacob is going to be constantly reminding me of how terrible my wife is because I told him that.
Right.
That's the message that I gave to him.
Right.
Kind of long drawn out example a little bit, but the idea behind it is, when part of the fighting fair is to understand that whatever the fight is, it's our fight.
Right.
It's not everybody else's fight.
And that doesn't mean that you don't
seek counsel.
Seek counsel at certain points, at certain times. But I think it is learning how to fight together,
right,
first and foremost. Going back to the drawing board, and revising and looking at how can we fight appropriately for us. And then when it gets to a point, or I'm not even gonna say a point, because sometimes we can just wait too long before we seek help. But when it becomes I've tried everything that I can try, that I know how to try, who can I then trust? And you still don't tell everybody everything.
Right.
But who can I trust with getting sound counsel from in order to fix my relationship? But it's, I don't think it's honestly without talking to your partner first. I think that's the key point.
Right.
I'm not gonna go talk to Sally Sue without having had that conversation of, I think we need to talk to somebody else, or I feel like I can trust this person.
Right.
With helping us fix this issue. What do you think about that?
Yeah, because and again, it's one of those things where, kind of like you said, it's not that you can't vent to people, but you have to learn what to vent, when to vent, and how to vent,
right,
to get that release of information and emotion off your chest,
right,
without dragging your partner through the mud in doing so. Because again, it may seem off, but and we'll use it in terms like a family member, whatever, friends too, but a family member. If I go to my dad or my mom or my siblings, and every time Crystal and I have an issue, I go back to them and I'm telling them all the bad stuff about Crystal
Right.
and all the things that upset me, that's gonna put a sour taste in their mouth.
Right.
And then now I have to constantly hear these people talk about all the bad things about her. That will either drive a wedge between me and my family,
Right.
or that will perpetuate the wedge between my wife and I.
Right.
And at the end of the day, now you have an even larger issue
Right.
that needs to be solved.
Right.
Because then you get kids involved, and you drop the kids at grandma's house, and grandma talking about how bad your husband is.
And as good as we think and feel that our parents are, or
Right.
our family members are, or our friends are, as we're still human,
Right.
and we still have our personal feelings, thoughts, and understanding. Because I know for myself, not just because I'm a counselor or anything, and this is what I did for a career, but we watch people. We notice behaviors. We notice actions. If you say Crystal doesn't clean whatever, and I'm trying to get her to clean more, and to your parents, if you see, in our environment or whatever, if you see that I left something out, she left that out.
Yeah, that's right.
And you build up over time, because
You build your case, you build evidence.
other people on the outside don't have to forgive you
Right.
like your partner does. They don't have to forget.
And not only
like
do
their
they
partner.
not have to, usually they're not going
Yeah.
to. Like
Yeah.
they're just not going to.
Right. They're going to remember the conversation that was had. They're going to remember those actions that were saw.
Right.
Or seen, rather. Ooh,
Right.
that's bad. I'm sorry, Mama Lisa. That was bad. But we have to understand that seeking counsel is just that. I'm seeking good, sound counsel. I want you to forget as soon as I tell you, and as soon as you give me good, sound counsel, and then forget. And when you see my husband, it's just like,
It's
hey,
just
bro,
gone. Yeah.
Hey, sis, and da-da-da, because that's what we're here for, to help.
Right.
And my sound counsel should be able to have the same conversation with my husband.
Right.
And there's no secrets that I've told my sound counsel that my husband doesn't know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Real quick example. When we were dating and we were still trying to figure out how to communicate with each other and kind of figure out how to coexist in a healthy way.
Right.
Of course, I was living with my best friend. He and I had an apartment together, and I'm talking to my guy, and we'd have an issue. He would, because again, we're living together. We're best friends. He sees I'm upset. He's just like, "What's wrong?" And you know how we do. It's like, "Man, she acting crazy because da 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 da." And mind you, they know each other. I would say that they're at least somewhat friends. You know what I'm saying? Like she likes him, whatever. They're good. But of course, little bit down the line, we're having another little spat, and we're again figuring things out. And he sees I'm upset, and he's just like, "What's up?" I'm just like, "Man, don't worry about it." He was just like, we talk about it, and of course his response is, "Well, she crazy." And so then I had to backtrack and be like, "Whoa, no, we're just in the stage of figuring stuff out. She's not crazy, but she's not crazy. She's not just flying off the handle. We're having an issue, and we're trying to figure this thing out. We're trying to make it work." But again, not to say
he probably said that. Did you say his name?
No, I didn't.
Okay, because I was about to say his name. I was like,
but
he probably thought I was crazy, because I'm pretty sure I yelled at him. So.
Right. But the point of the matter is, because of those conversations that I vented to him, then he developed an opinion about her. And even though he knew her, even though he was cool with her, because he was my friend, he takes my side. And it's just like, this is the way it is. And so as the at the time boyfriend, it was my responsibility to be like, nah man, no, like, you out of pocket at this point, regardless of what we got going on. That's not the way you deal with or address her, even in her absence. Right. And so, I had to then realize and become mindful of when I'm venting to him and when I'm kind of just getting emotions off my chest, how I'm saying things and what I'm saying, what I'm releasing to him. Because again, at the end of the day, I'm gonna get over it. I'm gonna be all right with you. But his opinion of you is gonna be molded and shaped by what it is I say. Right.
Unless you my family, like, not even my family, my sister per se. That's her brother. Like, what's up with that?
Right.
But yeah, so we have to be mindful of who we're venting to, how much we're and I wouldn't say venting, because venting sounds as if I'm just getting it off. I don't really want your help. I don't even really want to even resolve to this. I'm just trying to put it out there.
But sometimes that's the case.
Right, because I feel like if I'm venting, then I just need to vent to you. And I only say that because I don't see venting as helping. Because I can vent to Jesus all day long. I can talk out loud here at the house.
That's true.
And I can just say whatever. But I understand the release and relief that comes from venting. But I feel like, again, we have to be strategic about what we're saying, because if I'm constantly venting to my best friend, I'm just constantly venting. And that's it. It's kind of like, well, you always come in and vent about Derek, and it's...
Yeah, that's a whole different... if you gotta... Let's be clear. If you have to vent every day, it's always like at some point, vents aren't gonna solve this problem. Right.
And that's why I say you have to understand venting is okay. Lord, I'm just whew. All right, now my vent, I can't keep venting about this.
And for me, the significance behind the vent is to clear my head so that I can now come back to this relationship, come back to this partnership with a clear mind, I'm not going to necessarily say clear conscience, but a clear mind, essentially an empty slate, and now I'm no longer discussing or approaching the situation out of emotion and frustration. I'm approaching it I can approach it from a position of, okay, how can we solve? Because I've gotten the emotions out of it. But that shouldn't be needed in every instance. You're 100% right. That's kind of like, for me, that's a in case of emergency type of button. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's all about, that whole scenario is all about understanding how to release the emotion effectively and appropriately to resolve issue and not perpetuate issue. Right? Yeah. So yeah, that's that.
And so in venting, or not venting, but in fighting fair, we have to learn techniques that help us. And like you said, venting can be one of those. I don't vent a lot to people. I just don't. I probably.
Well, you don't need to vent, because I'm
about to vent right now to you guys. But no, we have to learn ways in order to decompress, and to, get our mind straight so we can have the conversation in order to work to a resolution. And sometimes that is taking a walk, taking a car ride. I like car rides, and blast my music.
Right.
We have to learn prayer. We have to learn reading our word or reading books that can help us to just decompress, because sometimes venting is not possible.
Right. That's true. That's
sometimes
true.
venting about certain arguments is nobody else's business.
Right.
Certain arguments, you can't have a conversation with someone unless it's a professional counselor and you know that they are bound by confidentiality. And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because certain conversations, certain situations, certain arguments will have other people looking at you as though, oh no.
Right, looking at you sideways.
Yeah, because everybody can't take stuff that goes on in your relationship. If something happens, and I don't even know a scenario that, like, I can't think of one off the top of my head that's just to be like, oh no. Well, I'll say for instance, your partner cheats on you.
Right.
And you decide to stay with your partner.
Right. That's not a go vent to your mama or your sister or your best friend.
No.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's if you forgave that person and are willing to stay in that situation because of whatever y'all discussed and worked through and whatever, that's not something that you go, because that I would believe that other people look at you as well as your partner as, oh no.
Right.
You know, and that may not be for y'all, but and I'm trying to think of a situation, but that was one that came to mind. So certain situations you just take to either your spiritual counselor or a professional counselor, and
right.
y'all work through that however you need to work through that.
Right.
So certain things you just have to know, what can I do in order to come back into my relationship, my marriage, and have that conversation and fight that argument well.
Right. So that being said, I guess we can call it a wrap for today. Yeah. But what we want you guys to do is to hop in the comment section and let us know, or drop some tips, some tricks, some how-tos
of fighting fair,
of ways to fight fair. Some things, some techniques. I was gonna say tactics, but that works too. Some techniques to getting things off your chest and opening up those lines of communication and not triggering your partner and making the situation worse. Also, as always, we're gonna ask you, if you're new to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can get notifications for all our new updates. Right. Give us a like, share the video, and
until next time,
we'll catch you next time.
Bye, guys.